The entropy of attention and the rise of the slop. If you have scrolled through social media in the last year, you have likely felt a strange sense of digital nausea. You might see a hyper-realistic image of a veteran made entirely of shrimp, a phenomenon known as shrimp Jesus, or a video of an AI-generated crocodile in a pilot's uniform screaming pseudo-Italian gibberish. To a rational human mind, these images are incoherent, bordering on the hallucinatory. But to the silent, invisible systems that govern our digital lives, this content is the most valuable commodity on Earth. We have entered the era of AI slop. In December 2025, Merriam-Webster officially named slop its word of the year. The term doesn't just refer to bad content. It describes low-quality, mass-produced synthetic media created with generative AI that is intentionally designed to hijack the attention economy. Just as spam clogged our email inboxes in the early 2000s, slop is now saturating our collective consciousness. The difference is the scale. In the era of human-made content, there was a natural limit to how much trash could be produced. In the era of AI, that limit has vanished. A single operator with automated tools can now publish thousands of articles, videos, and reviews per day at near zero marginal cost. The statistics regarding this shift are terrifying. By early 2026, research from firms like Ahrefs and Imperva revealed that the dead internet theory, the idea that the web is no longer inhabited by humans, is moving from a conspiracy theory toward a mathematical reality. 51% of all web traffic is now generated by bots. On search engines, the contamination is even deeper. One study found that 86.5% of Google's top-ranking pages contain AI-generated content. On YouTube, over 20% of the recommended feed for new users consists of pure AI slop before any personalization even begins. We are witnessing a great replacement of human insight with algorithmic filler. But why is our brain so bad at looking away? The trap lies in what researchers call surface plausibility. AI slop is designed to pass a first-look check. The grammar is correct, the sentences are coherent, and the visuals are flashy and high-resolution. This creates an asymmetric effort relationship. It takes a human 5 minutes of deep thinking to realize a video is meaningless, but it took the AI only 5 milliseconds to generate it. In this environment, the human brain is like a primitive animal facing a high-frequency trading bot. We simply cannot process the entropy fast enough. This phenomenon is leading to a cultural state often called brainrot. Originally a niche term for the mental fogginess following long internet sessions, it was named Word of the Year 2024 by Oxford University Press, after usage increased by 230%. Brainrot refers to the perceived cognitive decline caused by the compulsive consumption of content that is trivial or unchallenging. But beneath the brainrot jokes lies a serious neurobiological crisis. We are moving away from System 2 thinking, our rational deliberative mode of thought, and being forced back into System 1, our unconscious, automatic, and purely emotional reactions. The Italian brainrot characters like Tralalero Tralala or Ballerina Cappuccina are the perfect avatars of this crisis. They are surreal, catchy, and nonsensical. They are not built to be understood. They are built to stop your scroll and force your brain to spend milliseconds trying to decode the slop. This is the industrialization of the dopamine loop. When information is delivered as gibberish, the logical filters of your brain shut down, leaving only the reward circuit wide open for manipulation. The most disturbing part of the architecture of slop is how it exploits our natural labor illusion. Historically, humans have valued objects based on the perceived effort invested in them. We feel a handmade effect where craftsmanship triggers a sense of reciprocity and value. But in short-form video environments, we often assume human creation as a default. We give our precious attention to a video because we assume a human worked hard on it. When we discover a video is actually AI slop, we feel a sense of betrayal. But by then, The algorithm has already collected its tax from our attention bank. We are living in an era where the internet is filling up with digital clutter that prioritizes speed and quantity over substance and quality. It is a world of shovelware, games, books, and videos produced solely to farm clicks and ad revenue. As this synthetic content feeds back into the training pipelines of future AI, we face an entropy spiral where the entire knowledge ecosystem begins to collapse under the weight of its own automated garbage. Is this the final collapse of human culture? Or are we just the first generation of humans that has to learn how to survive a tsunami of nonsense? To find the answer, we have to look deeper into the biological hacking of our reward system and the terrifying neurochemistry of the digital dopamine loop. The biological hijack, dopamine, swipes, and cognitive atrophy. To understand why a grown adult can spend 3 hours watching an AI-generated cat apply makeup, we have to look inside the black box of the human head. Our brains are essentially ancient hardware running on a modern, high-speed network for which they were never designed. The architecture of Slop is specifically engineered to exploit a fundamental flaw in our survival programming: the reward circuitry. When you encounter a piece of slop, whether it's a bizarre AI hybrid or a surreal Italian Brainrot video, your brain doesn't see meaningless junk. It sees novelty. This stimulus triggers the ventral tegmental area, VTA, a group of neurons at the base of the brain that acts as a dopamine factory. These neurons release a surge of dopamine that travels to the nucleus accumbens, the brain's primary reward center. This is the same neurological pathway activated by food, social status, and survival-critical information. However, digital platforms have turned this survival mechanism into a closed-loop trap. In the natural world, rewards are delayed and require effort. In the world of Slop, every like, every notification ping, and every new visual shock provides an instant gratification reward. Harvard researchers have found that the neurochemical surge from these digital interactions is comparable to the hit of dopamine produced by consuming cocaine. This creates a state of motivational sensitization, where the brain begins to crave the process of consumption more than the content itself. You aren't watching the video because it's good. You are watching it because your brain is addicted to the click of the reward circuit. This leads us to a psychological phenomenon known as the sunflower seed effect. It's a simple metaphor. Once you start eating the first seed, it is incredibly difficult to stop, even though the individual reward is tiny. Watching social media is designed to be the ultimate sunflower seed task. It requires no complicated operations and zero deep thought. It is purely a matter of moving your finger. This is what developers call frictionless design. By removing the System 2 effort, the rational decision to click on a specific video, and replacing it with the System 1 automaticity of the swipe, the algorithm bypasses your executive control. For the most terrifying discovery of recent neurocognitive research is that brain rot isn't just a feeling, it's a physical transformation. Heavy consumption of short-form AI content is literally shrinking parts of the human brain. Studies using EEG and fMRI have shown a significant reduction in gray matter within the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for inhibitory control, focus, and memory. These neurological changes create a brain structure that eerily resembles individuals with ADHD. We are training our brains to value divided attention and alternating attention over the ability to concentrate on a single stimulus for more than 15 seconds. In online learning environments, sustained attention now begins to degrade within just 10 to 12 minutes for most digital native learners. This creates a massive generational gap in how we process reality. For adults, the impact of AI slop is often characterized as cognitive atrophy. An adult has already built the muscles of critical thinking and source evaluation. If they offload their thinking to AI, that muscle weakens from lack of use, but the capacity still exists. It can be rebuilt through effort. For Generation Alpha, however, the situation is far more dire. They are experiencing what psychologists call cognitive foreclosure. Because they are born into a world of algorithmically curated slop, they may never build the neural pathways required for deep thought in the first place. You cannot atrophy a muscle that was never built. When a child uses AI to summarize a book or decode a complex idea before they understand the basics of reasoning, the AI doesn't just assist their thinking. The AI becomes their reasoning. This leads to a state of homogenization, where an entire generation learns to reason through the same statistical biases and reasoning structures of a large language model. They lose the ability to audit information because they lack the domain knowledge to recognize when the slop is lying to them. They are effectively being work-slopped from birth, processing a reality that is shallow, repetitive, and devoid of substance. The dead internet is no longer just about bots. It is about the zombification of human attention. We are entering an era where we consume digital filler, not to learn, but to satisfy a biological hunger for dopamine that the slop itself created. If the brain is being physically rewired to prefer nonsense over substance, what happens when the slop stops being a hobby and starts becoming the foundation of our economy and politics? To understand that, we have to look at the macroeconomics of the brainrot economy and why corporations are now incentivized to make the world as nonsensical as possible. The brainrot economy, arbitrage, work slop, and the death of quality. We have explored the digital entropy of slop and the biological hijacking of the human reward system. But to truly understand the architecture of slop, we must follow the money. We are no longer just looking at a series of strange videos. We are witnessing the emergence of a legitimate macroeconomic powerhouse. In 2026, nonsense is no longer a side effect of the internet. It is the primary product. This is the brainrot economy, a market specifically designed to commodify micro-attention and trade in the currency of the absolute absurd. The foundation of this economy is a phenomenon known as attention arbitrage. In traditional economics, supply usually follows demand, but the brainrot algorithm has reversed this logic. It generates a massive, nearly free supply of high-frequency, low-utility content, the slop, to induce demand where none existed. Because AI tools have reduced the marginal cost of production to near zero, a single operator can now flood platforms with thousands of synthetic videos and articles every single day. The profit lies in the spread, the gap between the near-zero cost of model generation and the platform ad revenue paid out by the YouTube Partner Program or Facebook in-stream ads. The scale of this extraction is staggering. Research from early 2026 indicates that top-tier AI slop channels on YouTube are generating an estimated $170 million in revenue annually. A single channel identified in studies, Bandar Apna Dost, has amassed over 2.4 billion views, proving that the algorithm genuinely cannot distinguish between authentic human insight and a machine-generated loop of a crocodile in a tuxedo. In South Korea, the hunger for this content has reached a fever pitch, with trending brainrot channels recording 8.45 billion views, a number 164 times larger than the country's entire human population. This is the industrialization of the dopamine loop, where the marginal utility of a single second of your life has plummeted to accommodate the algorithm's need for constant engagement. But the economic infection has moved beyond the For You page and into the heart of the modern office. This is the rise of work slop, AI-generated low-quality documents that waste the time of everyone involved. Merriam-Webster formalized this term alongside slop because the problem has become a productivity-draining hazard for technical and corporate teams. A recent Harvard Business Review study found that 4 out of 10 employees have encountered work slop in their professional workflows, describing it as lacking the substance to meaningfully advance a given task. Each incident of work slop, a grammatically perfect meeting note that fails to capture a decision, or a synthetic bug report that references non-existent code takes an average of 2 hours to resolve. Daniel Stenberg, the founder of the Curl project, noted that as the volume of AI-generated security reports goes up, the quality goes down, forcing human engineers to spend more time than ever to get less value out of their work. This creates a massive efficiency gap. While AI tool adoption has doubled in the last year, 95% of organizations report no measurable return on their AI investment. We are essentially paying for the privilege of creating more garbage to clean up. As quality standards collapse, major brands have abandoned traditional logic for asymmetric marketing. Corporations are no longer selling products. They are selling the receipt that proves a customer is in on the joke. Brands like Ryanair, Samsung, and Duolingo have pivoted to adopting youth brainrot language to bypass the critical thinking of younger generations. You can now find characters like Skibidi Toilet or Labubu printed on massive quantities of children's merchandise, manufactured at the speed of culture, where a viral sound on Monday becomes a t-shirt on Wednesday. This instant merchandising creates significant negative externalities as trends die within weeks, leaving behind mountains of material waste and dead stock. More critically, it targets children who lack the financial literacy to evaluate quality. When a child sees a Cocomelon-style video of oddly proportioned horses hatching from eggs, content that makes up roughly 40% of recommendations for kids, they aren't just being entertained. They are being conditioned to accept the slop as their primary reality. The ultimate endgame of this system is what researchers call ghost GDP. In this macroeconomic simulation, AI becomes so cheap that corporations no longer need a human office workforce. On the surface, official economic indicators show growth and stability. The ghost GDP is rising, but underneath, displaced workers stop spending, the middle class erodes, and the gap between corporate profit and everyday survival becomes impossible to ignore. We are living through a great replacement of value with volume. From the Michael Smith wire fraud case, where AI was used to generate $10 million in fraudulent music royalties, to the Velvet Sundown hoax, where a non-existent band amassed 1 million monthly listeners through algorithmic manipulation, the message is clear. The system rewards the machine, not the maker. If the architecture of our world is being rebuilt to favor slop over substance, how do we protect the only thing the machine can't generate? Our human agency. To find out, we must look at the final chapter of this investigation, the digital right to repair and the strategy for surviving the dead internet. The mirror room and the final audacity. We have dissected the digital entropy of slop, the neurochemical hijacking of our brains, and the billion-dollar economy built on your cognitive decay. But now, we must face the final, most unsettling stage of this hidden system: the dead internet. For years, the dead internet theory was a fringe conspiracy, the idea that the web had been replaced by a ghost world of bots. In 2026, the numbers prove it is a mathematical reality. According to the Imperva Bad Bot report, automated traffic has officially surpassed human activity, accounting for 51% of all web traffic. This is no longer a tool for humans. It is a closed-loop feedback system where bots are creating content for other bots to engage with, while humans are caught in the crossfire. We are living in a digital mirror room. Because AI models are trained on the internet, and the internet is now 50% AI slop, the machines have begun to eat their own tails, creating an entropy spiral where information loses all meaning and becomes pure noise. But the real horror isn't that the internet is dead. The real horror is that we are starting to imitate the ghosts. Linguistic researchers have observed a phenomenon called mimetic convergence. As we spend hours immersed in the Italian brain rot or skibidi loops, our own speech patterns begin to mirror the compressed, repetitive, and performative nature of the algorithm. We are adopting algo-speak, Words like unalived or segs, not just to avoid filters, but as a primary dialect. We are trading the fractal depth of human conversation for the shovelware of thought. We are becoming platform-native organisms, optimized for circulation rather than contemplation. This is where we must apply the ultimate upgrade to our earlier concept, Polite Audacity 2.0. If the algorithm is a machine that harvests your attention, then the most revolutionary act you can perform is to be unprofitable. We must engage in what researchers call strategic curation, or defensive efficacy. Every time you withhold a click, every time you refuse to swipe and instead close the app, you are performing an act of political protest. You are signaling to the system that your 3 billion heartbeats are not for sale at the price of slop. But defense is not enough. We need biological restoration. Neurocognitive studies using EEG and eye tracking show that our sustained attention begins to consolidate fatigue within just 10 to 12 minutes of exposure to short-form slop. To fix our brains, we must consciously return to System 2 thinking, the rational, effortful mode of construction. This is the 8-minute rule. If you cannot focus on a single task, a single text, or a single human for more than 8 minutes, you are effectively living in a state of digital dementia. To reclaim your prefrontal cortex, you must move from passive consumption to active construction. Read a book that has no summary. Write a sentence that cannot be condensed into a meme. Engage in analog reciprocity, face-to-face interactions where there are no likes, only the complex, messy, and beautiful depth of human presence. We are at a critical juncture in the grand simulation. The clearance bin of the internet is full. The slop is rising. But there is a premium section of life that the algorithm can never enter. It is the place where you choose depth over speed and meaning over dopamine. In a world where 51% of the voices are synthetic and everyone is shouting tralalero, tralala, the most audacious thing you can do is have an original thought. Your heart has a finite budget. Don't let it rot in a mirror room of bots. Reclaim your focus. Reclaim your language. Reclaim your life. Because the only way to survive the dead internet is to be undeniably, inconveniently, and audaciously alive.